Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Monicka, to the Silverlake Priestess Podcast. I am Jaime Black, and I'm here with Monicka Schrock of Unsocially Inclined. And I'm so excited to interview you and have you here today. So thank you for joining us.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So just to give everybody a little backstory, Monicka and I know each other from working our slave jobs together back in the day.
Yeah, service industry.
Yes. And anyway, Monica's doing some work she's been doing for a while, but just had some like really big growth in her business. And I'm just seeing you all over the place, and it's so exciting. And we're gonna get into all of that. So here on the podcast, what I interview a lot of like witchy, magical women. I interview a lot of witches and priestesses and all of that. But my focus, something that's really important to me, is just like this idea of like sacred purpose, serving your purpose, using all of your gifts and helping other people with those gifts.
Right.
And so another part of that, right, is creating our own businesses around our gifts. And it's a process. And I love sharing women that are going through the process or have gone through the process, because I feel like it's really awesome for all of us just to realize that it's not for that person over there. It's not, nobody ever just all of a sudden figured it out and it was totally ready. Yeah. It's a process. And so I am just so fortunate to know so many women that are doing these processes, and it's really, I feel like, so helpful to share. And so thank you for coming and sharing with us.
I'm stoked, and I agree. It's important to share, just to like show that it's being done, which is like part of why I do what I do. I want to show other introverts that they can have their own businesses and be successful on their own terms, in their own way.
And I think it's very powerful, specifically the work that you're doing. So I'll just start by saying, in case anybody doesn't know, I'm totally an extrovert, right? Like I'm a Scorpio, so I do have this part of me that I'm very much a loner. Like, I'm very social, but I like to spend lots of time alone, and I work a lot and I create a lot. And so I definitely get like stuck inside of my bubble. But as soon as I'm around people, as soon as I'm live, like I just get really activated and I have all of this energy. And that's been really important or helpful for me in getting all this stuff done with my business. But I have had clients that are introverted, and I've been specifically activated and motivated by your messaging, like follow you on Instagram. And I'm like, wow, this is really helpful for the times when I feel introverted, and how important it is to be able to share with so many other people that really are introverted, because it's not just the extroverts that get to serve their purpose or get to build their business.
Right. But it's most of what we hear, just because you're more comfortable putting yourself out there. So that's kind of the, thank you for saying that. And I'm glad it helps in those moments that you're having, because it's a spectrum, right? Everyone's like, are you introverted or extroverted? But mostly we're all on a spectrum of it. If you, Carl Jung, that made this entire, theory, was like, if a person was like 100% one or the other, like they wouldn't be able to be or like handle it, it's too much. So we're all on this like spectrum of introversion and extroversion. Most people are ambiverts probably, but it does look differently in business. And I think when I was looking to start a business and realized that marketing was something I love to do, and accepting that and feeling okay with it was like a huge part of all of that, because I tried to just apply my marketing to causes that I loved all the time, which is totally great too, but I was still feeling something was missing. And I just love marketing, and I love helping people see that they can do it with their own personality, that they can succeed on their own terms, that they don't have to do these 5-step formulas or get rich quick, and also that it just doesn't work that way. So it's just, it's so important to play to your strengths. And I think a lot of the times introverts are made to feel like they need to change instead of playing to the strengths that we already have.
Yeah. So tell us about what it is that you do. And how, because I feel like there's a bunch of transformation that just like happened recently, or a bunch of kind of like surfacing of all of this just happened. So
very recently.
Give us a little background on on that and how this like worked for you.
Absolutely. So Unsocially Inclined is not even a year old. I started the Instagram account last July, and I did it kind of as a form of self-expression and really an experiment on if this messaging would connect with other people. Because for me, I was thinking, okay, I've been in this extroverted career marketing my whole life, or my whole working life, for 12 years. And I've definitely had to adjust and burn myself out because I've tried to be too extroverted or tried to be something I'm not, or like put my, just like not paid attention to my energy. And I was like, there has to be other people that are in these types of, occupations or have their own businesses that feel this way and just want to be able to talk about it, want to be able to look at things from their lens and have, other people that resonate with it. So I started the Instagram to see if that was the case. And it ended up that it was, and that's so like the marketer in me. I'm like, let me do some marketing research and some testing before I start this thing. So it really resonated with people because I think, and I have a lot of friends that are extroverts, and I love extroverts because they help me come out a little bit, and I kind of bring them, back in a little bit. And it's always a kind of good dynamic to have that balance. But I just kept seeing them in the marketing industry telling everyone the same thing, regardless of what their personality or their temperament was. And every time it happened, I was just like, you can't really tell someone who's not comfortable putting their face out there and being in front of the camera and just going live to just do it. Just do it. Like, you're going to be like, it's what you need to do. Just do it. And I was like, it just doesn't work like that for a lot of people, like people, they need their own like zone of genius, and they need to find that and make that work for them. So, I just was inspired by helping people find that and helping them find like marketing their own way in a way that feels authentic to them, is intuitive, and also like works for their business instead of, them working for a business, their business works for them. So I was just doing this for fun for a while. And then I realized that it was just really something that I was passionate about. I love empowering the introverted spirit, and especially in the lane of entrepreneurs and small business owners, because I think it's something that is a very great option for entrepreneurs. And I wrote an article about this recently, because office jobs are so draining, and often the draining part of it is not the work, it's the politics and the socializing and the open office plans and the mandatory meetings and all the things that don't really fuel an introspective soul. The collaboration, we can only do so much collaboration, and office jobs are really just set up around that, so I really got passionate about helping introverts with small businesses put themselves out there more by being able to find their voice and own and sell their greatness. So I feel like a lot of the time there's too much introspection, and that turns into self-doubt. And, cuts down on our belief in ourselves, and that just kind of spirals. And I know that happens to not just introverts, but I feel like since we're so in our heads, we tend to focus also on things that can go wrong in our business and then just decide to stop. And we're not as just kind of blindly confident about those things. So I just want to help people find the words that helps them be comfortable and confident in that they want to put out in the world, that doesn't make them feel gross or salesy. So I'm a copywriter and a marketing strategist, and that's what I do with clients. So I just started Unsocially Inclined as like a content and helping people. I do Instagram lives every Monday at 6 where I help people, but I also just launched and sold out my first marketing mentoring program called Quiet Rebel. It's so exciting. So I'm doing that right now with 8 introverted entrepreneurs, which is going so well. And it's so great to just help people with the knowledge I have of how marketing works and the like base knowledge of it, and using that to create a message and a marketing plan that will grow their business in a way that feels great to them. And I like to distinguish it in like, you're going to be uncomfortable sometimes for your business and your marketing. Like, you're going to have to push yourself a little bit, but there's a difference between being uncomfortable and feeling like gross about what you're doing or inauthentic. And I think sometimes we think that's the same thing, but it's making that distinction. Like, is this like not you, or is it just that you feel uncomfortable because you haven't pushed yourself, this 5% before? So that's kind of the synopsis.
Yeah. It is, there is that like yuck factor, just feeling right. Like, because it's like, the feeling of selling is, it can be the same feeling as being like overexposed, like you're sharing and
self-promotion and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And do you know, a lot of musicians and artists and, you know, these creative types also tend to be very introverted or have like long periods of like, that's where the creative process is happening. And then to take that and then just kind of like open it up and put it out here. There's definitely, and I think it's so powerful for people to be able to teach them how to be able to share their information and their gifts and their business and allow it to be like available for purchase, right? So that you can like support yourself, but also be able to do it in a way that doesn't feel gross. And there's so much push around, you know, like everybody, there's like this huge movement right now, like all these entrepreneurs and everybody starting their own businesses is awesome. It's totally exciting, but it's true. A lot of the training is the same. And it's like, you just have to do the Facebook Live and it doesn't matter if you suck at first. And obviously there's going to be like a growth process, but I'm still uncomfortable doing Facebook Lives. Like this is easy for me because I'm interacting with like people that inspire me or my friends or, you know, it's like, it gets me going. And so I'm not like sitting here by myself facing a camera and then like trying to talk about how awesome my program is. So yeah.
And I think the what helps me is, so now for 12 weeks now I've been doing a live every Monday, but it's less than 10 minutes. So it's like, you know, and 9-minute episode on Instagram Live every Monday. And I decided 12 weeks ago that was like the time I was going to show up and make myself like a little bit uncomfortable and see if it worked. And if it didn't work in, you know, like 4 to 6 weeks and no one was responding to it, I would have stopped. And that's kind of also a point is to, you know, when it comes to marketing, you also have to like analyze what you're doing, because it gives yourself permission to stop doing something if it's not working. So then you're not just like hurting yourself for a year doing something that's not even helping your business, you know, or putting another thing on your to-do list that maybe isn't, you know, driving sales or acquisitions or creating trust between you and your audience. If it's not working, you don't have to do it. So I always love to empower people to create their own metrics. It doesn't have to be, you know, the very like jargony key performance indicators that marketing people do, but you do want to see, you do want to like reflect and look back. And I think introverts are really good at reflecting. And that's like a strength we have, but look back on what's been working and what's not, so you can give yourself permission to stop doing those things if they're not working. So in my case, the lives are working and I've gotten a lot more comfortable in it, but what helps me is that I'm just giving value. And I think there's a couple words in marketing, in my opinion, that are a little overused right now, which is authentic, value, like intentional, but you know, they do still mean what they mean. Sometimes people are a little glazed over because they're like, oh, I've heard this so many times, but you want to give your audience value for that know, like, and trust factor that you're going for. So then, you know, I've had like 12 weeks of value I'm giving people. So then, oh my gosh, I can see your cat. So then when I launch a program, you know, it's not just out of the blue, I'm asking people to give me money, you know?
Yes.
It's like 3 months of me like giving a lot. Which in my case, just I was doing it on the side and now it's my full-time job. So it's different. Now I'm actually selling, but you have to give a lot more than you take, but you know, it helps your audience trust you. And I think once you figure out that thing that helps that, like either it's blogging, podcasting, lives, you know, maybe it's YouTube videos, you really only have to choose one. I think that where people go wrong is that they want to do all of it and then they burn themselves out super quickly. And the worst thing you can do is have, you know, an infrequent like posting or an inconsistent posting. So what I like to tell people that I help is that, and I've said this on my lives, is just you pick your baseline of frequency of your presence online. So you just have to, you decide your baseline and then show up all the time so people know you're showing up. You know, for me, it's like I show up every Monday for a 10-minute live. I post 2 to 3 times a week on Instagram and I do stories every day. And I send an email once a week. And that's my like baseline. I never do less than that. If I do more than that, that's cool. But I always show up in that way. So my audience knows that on Monday, they're going to see me like bring them some content, or they're going to see me in their feed a couple times a week. Or they're going to see some funny stories, you know, every day, you know? So it's like, I'm deciding what I can do, what I'm comfortable with. and then staying consistent with that and seeing what results that gets me. And that's what I like to tell people. You decide your frequency. Don't let someone tell you have to start a business and start every channel under the sun, because you're gonna get burned out, because content is hard and it's a long game. But it's your choice, and no one else, you know, take people's advice with a grain of salt is what I mean. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So are you still working with people individually? Do like people hire you to do marketing for them? Mm-hmm. And then like you have this program that's like empowering people to like learn how to do the marketing for themselves.
Right. Exactly. So I
want both.
Yeah.
Can I have both?
Yeah, give me both. I just still have clients that I do copywriting and marketing work for, and that's like right now that is my main source of income. So I just launched my first marketing mentoring program, and I hope to launch by the end of the year like a membership where people can like subscribe every month and get like amazing content to help with their business. That's kind of like one of my other aspirations. So the coaching was the first thing. So that's the first thing that's like purely unsocially inclined, and the rest is unsocially inclined, but I'm working with clients, helping them with copywriting, helping them with like marketing plans and strategy, and social media. So it is a mix of both for sure. And I love the client work because I love writing, and I love helping people figure out their messaging. What that aha moment when someone's like, oh my gosh, I could have never put that in my vision into words like you just did. Like that's one of my favorite feelings ever. And writing is just something I enjoy so much and comes really naturally to me. It's my strength, and I've made it into something that I make money off of, which is great because I enjoy it. And it's never boring. There's never a dull moment, even if, you know, businesses are, you know, even if the business is maybe a little bit dull, writing for it isn't, you know, because you're still helping them figure out who they are, their voice, and solve a problem for their audience. And that's like game changer.
Totally. It's life changer.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's awesome. I'm so excited that you're doing all of that. Yeah, I do actually hope to work with you, just for everyone. Like I've been kind of like poking at Monicka, you know, lately, like, you know, okay, wait, what is it exactly that you're doing? And like, how can I get some of that? Because your stories, your Instagram stories are great. They're really empowering also, because you are teaching, but you're also showing like in the way that you do it. And it also just make it like fun and easy. And yeah, it's really great.
That really, you know, powerful saying, which is like, you can't be what you can't see, you know, usually. And I think that's that. I'm only, you know, really, I'm only, you know, maybe 5 steps ahead and like pushing myself in these things. And then, you know, that's the best person to teach you. Actually, I think I learned this from another coach, and it was I was like, oh, you're right. Like you only want to be a couple steps ahead of the person that you're teaching, because that you haven't forgotten how they feel and where they're at. You're not them anymore. You're not in your audience anymore, which I feel like a lot of people, when they're figuring out who their niche audience is, or who their people are, I like to call them your person, your people. Cause like, you know, you can call them user personas, avatars, target audience. It's all very jargony, but really you're trying to help. When you're trying to figure out who that is, it's not you. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They're like, well, I know my audience because I am my audience. And I'm no. And that is, there's like a really simple explanation to why you're not your audience. Maybe you were before, absolutely. But now you have a solution for their problem. So you have removed yourself from that market because you have a solution. So maybe you used to be your audience, but now you're not, you know. Now I'm not the person who, you know, needs to be, you know, kind of figure out what feels right for me in my business. I know what feels right. So now I'm going to help other people do that, you know? So being a couple steps ahead, and I have a business coach who's like a couple steps ahead of me, you know, so it's that like, that's the best person to teach you. They've just gone through everything you're about to go through. They can give you insights. They can give you mistakes they've made. They can help you get to where they are as they grow. So I think that's like an important thing. Like, yeah, you absolutely want to follow those people who are just like, you know, 6-figure businesses that they built from scratch over the last, you know, 7 years. Absolutely. Because they're super inspiring, but they might not relate to where you are right now as well as someone who's just a couple steps ahead of you. So I think that's something keep in mind, like when we're looking at people that can help us with our businesses and who we can help, is just like, it's just like a really big community of people who are figuring it out. And that's what I want to do. I just want to help people figure it out and help them feel good in selling themselves. And the funny thing is I started that Quiet Rebel program, and most people in it, I ask, do you find me salesy, or when you see what I'm doing, do you feel like it's gross, or are you turned off?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. So like, I'm doing all these things. I'm talking about it all the time. Like even with my launch, I was talking about it all the time. And they were like, no, I didn't find it gross or salesy at all. I'm like, awesome, because I'm coming from the place that I'm coming from, which is empowering the introverted spirit. And everything I do comes from that place. And I think once you find what your underlying why, I always tell people to watch Simon Sinek's video about your why and his like golden circle technique, because it starts with why, and then it's how and what you do. And so I always tell people, like, you're not going to feel gross about it if there's this like baseline of inspiration and, passion that you're coming from.
At least to go back to when you feel gross, when you
right,
feel
yeah,
wait,
this is what I'm doing this for.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Yeah. And just remembering that it's not about you, I feel like that helps introverts, and probably helps a lot of people too, is that even when you're putting yourself out there for your business, it's not about you. Mm-hmm. It's about the person you're helping. So think about them when you're doing it, which I feel like helps a lot. It helps me a lot, especially when I get kind of nervous and frazzled for certain things. I'm like, oh, okay, but I get to go on here, and maybe there's an introvert out there listening that like really needs to hear what I have to say. And that really kind of boosts me into like being more in the mood for it, or like more empowered to not feel self-conscious or that I'm not helping,
I was going to ask you if you had like one piece of advice that you would like to leave everyone, like especially introverts that are listening, maybe being like, oh, I could do that. I feel like the why is probably, some of that, but just, coming from that place yourself, what do you, the people who are like just kind of on the edge where they feel like, oh, I can't, like, I want to, I have all of these gifts, I want to help people and everything, but like, right. I don't know how to, get it out there. And
yeah, I think the important thing is to give yourself a break. Forgive yourself when you can't do it. Some days I can't do it. I really just can't put myself out there. I don't have the energy for it. But focus on growing just a little bit, like every week. That's what I do. Like I decide every week what one thing I'm going to do to put myself out there a little bit more and make myself a little more uncomfortable. And when I do it from that place of why, where I'm like, this is going to help people that I want to help, I feel uncomfortable. But then when I come out the other side, I feel amazing because I know that it helped and the responses are there. And the other piece of advice is that I know it's hard to put your personal like face, making yourself visible is really intimidating. It can be really hard. Yeah. And the online space is a really hard place to do that. And maybe if you have to like build up to it. And that's why I definitely want to tell people is like, dip your toe in, don't dive in, because if you dive in, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And if you want to, that's fine, but just like a little bit at a time. But the thing is, and I think I like to call it your personal spell, which I feel like kind of rolls into this. The only person that has your perspective, your story, even if there's a bunch of other people out there, there's no shortage of people teaching people marketing or copywriting online at all. Like it's a very saturated market for sure, but I'm the only person who has my story, my experiences, what I like to call my personal spell, that I put on that knowledge and that education. And that's what draws people to you. And I think especially now, people want to be connected to humans. And introverts especially, we love one-on-one connection. It's something that we thrive off, that authentic connection. I think everywhere that marketing is going is playing to our strengths. We just have to get out there and be a part of the conversation. So doing one thing every week to challenge yourself, to be uncomfortable, and tell your story a little bit more is going to help your business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So tell us where we can find you. Tell us all the places.
All the places. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook at Unsocially Inclined, and unsociallyinclined.com.
So awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming and sharing all of this with us. Really, it's helpful. So many people out there are just kind of listening in their quiet little space and activating them. Yeah, there's room for all of us. And so I honor what you're teaching.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And so I hope to see you soon. And I'll put all of your information in the show notes, and like keep doing an awesome job.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah.
I love seeing all your podcasts. So thanks for doing it as well.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Blessed be.